I'm Chris White, and this is the Electric Jesus Podcast. A couple of years ago, I wrote and directed a film called Electric Jesus. This film was inspired by my teenage years in an evangelical church youth group, listening to Christian rock music. Since the film's release in 2021, I have had hundreds of fascinating conversations with people who've seen the film at film festival Q&As, after parties, online discussion groups, phone calls, email and text threads, all of them enlightening, some hilarious, some wistful, some with strangers, many with lifelong friends. And in most cases, I've thought, I wish I'd been recording that. Or, yes, that person gets my movie. And on more than one occasion, that person understands my movie way better than I do. Here's a brief conversation I just had with Electric Jesus fan and new friend, Guillermo Acosta. Guillermo, I need to know, tell me, how old are you and I need to know your age, but also your background as related to Electric Jesus. Like, what background do you have that made this apply to you or interesting to you?
I am 59 years old. I had a come to Jesus moment when I was 16 years old back in 1979.
Uh-huh.
And music was a catalyst for me. I connected to Resurrection Band at that time.
Yeah.
And I've been a Res head for over 40 years. Love Glenn Kaiser. Love the work they do at JPUSA. Big fan of Glenn. He's like a spiritual mentor to me. My encounter with Electric Jesus is that there's some connections to some people that I followed and intrigued me, including people like John Mark Painter, Daniel Smith. I'm a huge fan of True Tunes, so I love the connection to John Joseph Thompson. I mean, he's like the archivist of music.
Yeah, he is. He is.
A lot of my introduction to new music this last 5 years have been because of True Tunes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not necessarily stuck in the 80s or 90s. I've encountered incredible new musicians through that podcast. It's my favorite it has been my favorite podcast. And I was supposed to go to Audio Feed Festival a couple of years ago. And one of the things that got my attention was the screening of Electric Jesus film with an actual band.
Yeah.
Got my tickets, made plans to go, and it was canceled because of COVID restrictions.
That's right.
But thankfully, the screening was relocated to Chicago.
Yeah.
And when I saw the address on Wilson Avenue, it clicked. That's JPUSA. And so I said, I don't care about the festival, but I'm going to go to JPUSA.
Yeah.
And meet up with Glenn Kaiser. So what connected me to the movie was the music.
Yeah.
I remember seeing takes, and I remember hearing a video of Love Comes Down. And oh my God, it was amazing. And then I made a comment, and John Mark Painter commented that he played bass.
Right.
So on that song.
Yeah.
And so connections began to come together for me.
Yeah. That's the cover that the band does in the movie. John Mark Painter is our studio musician.
He's a music man. He's been everywhere.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of John with the work he did on Jesus Freak album.
Yeah.
He did some work on Sad Astronauts band.
Yeah.
That I connected with. So we had some connections.
Yeah.
And so it all just it was like a perfect storm for me.
What did you think when the first time you when you saw the movie the first time? What were your expectations going into it?
Yeah, I thought it would be a little bit of comedy, a little bit of a music comedy. I was not expecting it to be a faith film. I had read up a lot about it.
Okay, yeah.
But I also knew that it blew my expectations. It really did. Great film. Incredible acting. There was a take that I had seen where he starts rattling up a list of all the bands that he followed.
Oh, right. Yeah, that scene in the movie.
Oh, I at least 40 of those bands, were people that I follow or that I like a lot.
When you so when you're watching the film, are there any moments or things other than the one you just said that when he rattles off the bands? I mean, obviously that's one that
Hmm.
connects with you, but were there any other moments that reminded you of when you were younger, or things that happened, or maybe even things that apply to your life now? Were there things in it?
Oh yeah, the end. I saw a lot of parallel to my life.
Mm,
You have a young man who was on fire, and he was out to make Jesus famous, and he was honest, he was zealous, because that was me. I mean, I was a very zealous young believer, and life happened. I've been through a journey, I've been through some struggles, I've been through some ups and downs. My 40s were hard for me.
mm,
I struggled not so much with faith, I struggled with me.
yeah,
The end of the movie, I definitely connected to that because sometimes you have plans and they don't always work out that way.
that's right.
That was a very touching moment to me, because it kind of ended in a positive side. They reconnected the funeral. They reconnect to music. He's given the CD,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
and that was very, very touching to me
Mm,
because I even though it was sad,
yeah.
it offered some hope.
Yeah. This is cool. And this is like, and we met at that Japuza show,
Hmm.
through audio feed in Chicago. And every time, I
Hmm.
mean, from the second I met you, I didn't realize that you were like, in this, kind of, a special place to you, at Japuza, Wiglin and all
Yes,
that. Emily and I both were just so grateful that you had come, but also like just, you go, when you make a piece of art, this would be like if you make a record, but also if you make a movie, you kind of go into this little worker mode and you put your blinders on and you're just working, 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 working.
hmm,
And then when the piece enters the world and in a way ceases to be your own, it becomes everybody's, to have opportunities to connect with people that it really connects with is just, it's so rewarding. It's beyond description. It's not even like, it's something beyond personal satisfaction. It's more like just seeing art do what art does, and how community forms, and just connections of people. And I'm so pleased that you and I were able to connect over this piece of art. That to me is just like one of the miracles of making movies and making art.
absolutely.
As high as the heavens are high, above the earth, up to the sky you shall fly, you shall fly, you shall fly.
See what I mean? Great, right? Okay, so look, last season on the podcast, we went behind the scenes to discover the music that inspired the world of Electric Jesus and the amazing work our team did to create an all-new soundtrack for the film. This season, I'm going to let you listen in on the fascinating conversations about the film you would otherwise miss. I've selected 9 key scenes from the film to inspire conversations with fellow artists, authors, academics, pastors, old friends, and new. You'll hear my guests and I discuss the scene in the church fellowship hall when Brian Baumgartner's Christian band manager recruits 316 for a summer tour, the handheld video camera scene at Sarah's house, the urgent rest area scene when Skip decides to let Sarah join the tour, Eric's favorite bands, that cringy ice machine and swimming pool scene with Eric and Sarah, the scene where Sarah talks about Amy Grant drinking wine and going to nude beaches, the to hell with the devil lip sync scene, the scene in the Purgatorio where Eric denies his band 3 times, and the tear-jerking band reunion / epilogue that happens in present day. My 9 favorite scenes that fans and friends always want to talk about. If you've not yet seen the film, watch it. It's streaming all over the place. Just Google it. Or better, click the link to our streaming partners in the show notes. And if you have seen the film, well, I'm guessing that since you're listening to this, the film connected with you in some way. I'm glad. And I hope that these conversations add to your enjoyment and appreciation of Electric Jesus. Electric Jesus is available wherever you stream movies. Check the links in the show notes to find the award-winning film, the soundtrack, a merch table filled with cool EJ stuff, and links to our guests and their work. If you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to rate and subscribe to it on your preferred player, and to check out all the amazing extras we curate on the Electric Jesus YouTube page. Thanks for listening.
All of this is disgusting. Worst thing I have seen since Carmen tried to exorcise Tammy Faye Baker at Night of Joy.